We are on the record. Today is August 14th, 2012. The time is approximately 1 p.m. This is the beginning of Disc 1 of Volume 3 in the video deposition testimony of Karen Michelle Shainsky in the matter entitled Linda de Rogatis versus Karen Michelle Shainsky, pending before the Superior Court for the State of California of the County of Los Angeles, Central District, case number BC 457-891. We are at the law offices of Brown, White, and Newhouse, located at 333 South Hope Street, 40th floor, Los Angeles, California. My name is Lucas Cheadle, videographer representing Network Deposition Services, located in Century City, California. This video deposition is requested by the law offices of Brown, White, and Newhouse, representing plaintiff. All persons present, please identify themselves for the record, and counsel, please state your appearances as well.
Good afternoon, Tom Brown and Casey McBroom on behalf of the plaintiffs.
Yes, good afternoon, Raymond Blessy for Dr. Shainsky.
Dr. Karen Shainsky.
And I'm Robert Thomas, referee.
The court reporter may now swear on the witness.
Please raise your hand. Solemnly state that the evidence you shall give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
Good afternoon, Doctor.
Good afternoon.
Marking as Exhibit 15.
Thank you.
Exhibit 15 is a 6-page document on pleading paper entitled Plaintiffs Linda de Rogatis and Peter de Rogatis' Fifth Amended Notice of Taking Deposition of Defendant Karen Michelle Shainsky, DO, and request to produce documents. Doctor, have you seen this request?
Yes.
Okay. Turning to page 4 of the request, production number 1. Screenshots of Altera de Rogatis' Cedars-Sinai Hospital medical and billing record to which you could access in 2010 via your computer as a Cedars-Sinai staff member. Did you search for those documents?
Before you answer, Doctor, let me just put on the record that there were objections filed to these production demands, specifically citing Civil Code Procedure 2024.020. You may answer.
I don't have access to billing records, but I've printed the medical records.
So do you have them with you today?
Yes. The system at Cedars-Sinai is also medical record system changed. So I printed what I can. Now it's CS Link. It used to be WebVS, but I printed what I have.
Let me first see what you have, and then we'll ask you some questions about what you did to get it. Is this your only copy?
No, I made extra copies.
Okay. Do you have one for the court reporter?
I do.
Okay. Do you have one for the judge?
I do.
Wonderful. Okay, let's mark this as next in order, which is Exhibit 16. And Doctor, is Exhibit 16 what you are producing in response to request for production number 1?
Yes.
Are there any other documents that you have in your care, custody, or control that are responsive to request for production number 1 besides Exhibit 16?
The labs that were also on the computer.
Okay.
Did you bring those?
Yes.
May I have a copy of them, please?
You may, counsel, but let's do this in order. Just for clarity's sake, so the record's clear, the first request asked for screenshots of the decedent's records from Cedars-Sinai Hospital medical and billing to which you could access in 2010 via your computer. You understand that, Dr.
Yes.
Shainsky? Okay. And Exhibit 16 is such a document, correct?
I believe looks exactly the same, but I don't know for sure because I don't have any hard copies from 2010.
Okay,
This is printed from today.
Great,
I
thank
went
you.
to the hospital and printed it for you.
Great. Do you have the lab reports that you claim are responsive?
Yes.
May we have those?
You may, counsel. I believe it consists of 2 pages.
Thank you.
Again, I have copies for His Honor and for the court reporter.
Now, Dr. Shainsky, besides Exhibits 16 and 17, do you have any other documents responsive to request for production number 1?
There was another page, just a different format of the ER visit.
And this is a 3-page document?
Yes.
We will mark that as Exhibit 18.
Linda?
Yes, hi.
Hey, you just got started. Can you just go ahead and put your phone on mute?
Yes, one moment.
Now, Doctor, do you have any other documents responsive to request for production number 1 other than Exhibits 16, 17, and 18?
No.
Turning your attention to request for production number 2, all documents referring to or relating to Tara D. Rogatis' Cedars-Sinai medical records to which you had computer access as Cedars-Sinai staff member in 2010. Do you have any documents responsive to that?
You're asking, counsel, above and beyond what we've already produced here this morning, correct?
No. I'm asking just what I asked.
Okay.
And it's the afternoon, but go ahead.
That's all I have.
That's all you have, okay. So you have no other documents responsive to either request number 1 or number 2 other than what you produced?
No.
Okay. Turning to request number 3, all communications between you and Cedars-Sinai Hospital referring to or relating to your access to Tara D. Rogatis' Cedars-Sinai Hospital as a Cedars-Sinai staff member. Do you have any additional documents other than the ones you've already produced responsive to that request?
No. There are no more communications.
So tell us what you did to retrieve Exhibits 16 through 18.
I have Cedars-Sinai privileges, so I went to the hospital and logged on under my name and printed the documents.
Could you have done the same from your office?
The internet is not working in my office for the last 2 days, so
If the internet was working at your office, could you have accessed the same documents that you went to the hospital to access and print out?
the system changed again, so it might have been in a different format, but something very similar to that in 2010.
That's not my question. My question to you is that you went to Cedars-Sinai to print out and review these documents, correct?
Yes,
And you did that because your internet was down
yes,
at your office.
yes.
If your internet was up at your office, would you have been able to access and print the same 3 exhibits that you printed at the hospital?
Yes,
So there's no difference from either accessing it at the hospital or accessing it at your office,
no.
but for a working internet, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay. So the documents that you produced today, Exhibits 16, 17, and 18, are there any documents that were available to you in 2010 by accessing the Cedars-Sinai records that are not available to you today when you printed them out for Tara D. Rogatis?
It may lack foundation and call for speculation, but go ahead.
Probably not.
Okay. And in fact, do you recall reviewing exhibits, strike that, and in fact, you recall reviewing the information contained on exhibits 16, 17, and 18 while you were treating Tara de Rogatis from the Cedars-Sinai computer records?
I've looked through that, yes.
Excuse me?
Yes, I've looked at them.
Okay, and they're the same information today as was on the computer back when you were treating Tara?
I can't say it's exactly the same, but it's,
Why don't you review the documents and tell me what's different?
Well, that would cause her to speculate as from 2 years ago, but go ahead if you want to review them.
Anything in Exhibit 16 that you find that's different from what you reviewed 2 years ago?
I wish I had that good of a memory 2 years ago, but
If you don't know, you can say that.
I don't recall.
Okay, how about Exhibit 17? Is there anything in Exhibit 17 that's different than 2 years ago?
I don't believe so.
Okay. How about Exhibit 18? Same question. Does any information seem to be different or changed?
Probably not.
And would you say that's the same with Exhibit 16?
Probably.
Let me mark for identification I'm going to mark for identification Exhibit, is it 18?
19.
Exhibit 19.
Thank
There's
you.
2 copies. Take a moment and look at Exhibit 19, if you will.
Take your time.
And let us know after you've had an opportunity to review the document.
That's not the same.
Counsel, she's had a chance to review the records.
Do you recognize this exhibit,
No.
Exhibit 19?
I think the second portion is ER visit, that's something similar from April 2009. The psychiatric evaluation, I don't believe I've seen.
So, and what you're referring to is about halfway through, right after the death certificate, correct?
Yes.
And there is a, what's called a final verified report,
Yes.
emergency department psychiatric evaluation. And is this you had access to or you did not have access to at the time you looked at the records?
I didn't see this report.
My question is, did you have access to it?
I don't know.
And so it's your testimony that you did not review this report at the time you reviewed Exhibit
16.
16?
Yes.
Okay. Now, how has the records system at Cedars changed between today and at the time you reviewed the records for Tara?
It's a different system.
Did it have, is the information kept in a different format?
Yes.
Is the same information kept but in a different format?
Well, that may call for speculation and lack foundation, but go ahead.
Most likely it's the same information.
Well, you reviewed the documents under the old system and the new system, correct?
Today?
Anytime.
The question is vague and ambiguous. Do you understand as to the point in time he's asking about?
No. What are we referring to?
Back in 2000, at the time you were treating Tara, you reviewed the documents, correct?
Yes.
And you reviewed them today.
Yes.
It's in a different format today as it was when you were treating Tara.
Yes.
But the information that is in the documents is the same today as it was when you reviewed it, correct?
Most likely. Yes.
You didn't see any differences?
No.
Okay. Now, in reviewing Exhibit 16 or something in the same substance but a different format when you were treating Tara, this was the source of the information where you learned about her drug use. Is that correct?
Yes.
And do you recall what type of drug use it was?
Methamphetamines?
And is that also the source of the information that you learned that she had a history of mental illness?
Yes.
Is this also how you became aware that she had a psychiatric mood disorder
Yes.
with psychotic features?
Whatever it says there. Yes.
At the time you learned from the records from Cedars-Sinai that Tara had a psychiatric mood disorder with psychotic features. Is that correct?
Yes.
Did the fact that Tara suffered from psychotic mood disorder affect how you treated her at all?
It's vague and ambiguous, but go ahead.
She did not behave psychotic at any of our visits.
That's not my question. Could you please repeat it back to her?
Did the fact that Tara suffered from psychotic mood disorder affect how you treated her at all?
Let me just interject, it lacks foundation. Go ahead.
I saw Tara in March of 2010. This is a document about a year old. At none of the visits she behaved psychotic, so
Your Honor, can I get
Well,
an answer to the question if it played in, well, exactly what the
your question assumes that she had psychotic mood disorders when she saw her. That's what she's quibbling about here.
Exactly.
Okay, well, let me clarify. I'm not assuming she had that. All I'm assuming is that the emergency room diagnosed her with a psychotic mood disorder with psychiatric features.
did they
Did the
diagnose?
fact that she was,
Did they diagnose her? I think it's all quote unquote.
let me finish my question, please.
Yeah, then I'll make the objection. Go ahead.
In the records that you reviewed, you saw that under history of present illness, it states that this is a 29-year-old female with some type of psychiatric mood disorder with psychotic features who presents to the emergency department complaining of total left-sided body pain and what she calls tactile hallucinations. You see that, correct?
Yes,
You also knew at the time that she said that she had had these symptoms for a year then, correct?
yes,
You also learned that in the last couple of days, it had been much worse to the point that she wants to die because she cannot take it anymore, correct?
that was a year ago document.
Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay. And in fact, those were her own words, that she wants to die because she cannot take it anymore, according to the hospital records you reviewed, correct?
yes,
Now, you also see that under her past medical history, it states she had mood disorder and hallucinations, correct?
yes,
You also saw that she had a history of methamphetamine abuse, correct?
yes,
And my question to you is, after reviewing these notes in the Cedars-Sinai hospital records, did any of the information contained herein that I just read to you play any part in your treatment of Tara?
Well, it's vague and ambiguous, but go ahead.
she did not complain of any hallucination. She denied any hallucination or any, in fact, psychiatric illnesses.
Your Honor, can I get a...
Can you just answer it if you,
do you
did
need
that
to read back to me?
information
Yes,
affect?
please.
Could you read it back, please?
And my question to you is, after reviewing these notes in the Cedars-Sinai hospital records, did any of the information contained here and that I just read to you play any part in your treatment of Tara?
I think what he wants to know is the history that he
The
gave.
question's pretty clear.
Well, it isn't,
Please
because he
don't
used the
coach
term
him.
Just
diagnosis.
leave it alone. Read it again. If you can answer it, fine. If you can't, just say so. I think that last question should be answered.
And
Yes, I've learned that she suffered from pain and she had a psychiatric mood disorder.
Now, besides learning that, tell us if it played any part in your treatment of Tara.
Vague as to any part, but go ahead. She's already answered that.
I can't say anything more specific than that.
Your Honor, it hasn't, we don't have an answer yet.
We do have an answer.
Can you read back the answer before our last one?
I've looked at the lab
Hang on,
results.
let's wait.
Sure.
Yes, I've learned that she suffered from pain and she had a psychiatric mood disorder.
The question was, did that information affect how you treated her?
And she answered,
Precisely.
She didn't answer, she just said, I learned some things.
Your Honor, there was a
All she
subsequent
said.
answer.
Please, no coaching. I'd like to have the
Excuse me.
answer.
She did not answer the question, and give it another try. Okay?
She said, I can't tell you anything more
No.
than that. But that's what she said. It's on the record.
Sir, please. The question was, did it affect your treatment? She did not answer that question.
Please answer the question.
It affected the treatment that I had to look through the lab results and the urinary toxicology and all the things that I thought were relevant. So that's the best of my answer.
So it played a part in your treatment of her because you reviewed her lab results and the other tests she had undertaken.
Yes.
Did it play a part in any of the medications you prescribed for her?
She was already on benzodiazepines and pain medications, I believe.
My question to you is, did it play any part in the medications you prescribed for her?
The phrase play any part is vague and ambiguous. If you understand what he means, go ahead and answer it. If you don't, tell him you don't.
Could you
No.
rephrase the question?
You learned from Cedars-Sinai that she had all the issues I just recounted in detail with you. And my question to you is, after learning that information, did that play any role in your decision as to what medications to prescribe to her?
Asked and answered. Go ahead.
Yes.
How did it play a role?
She suffered from pain medication. She was treated with pain medications and benzodiazepines in the ER.
Did you decide not to prescribe her certain medications based on the hospital records at Cedars-Sinai?
No.
Now, after you learned she had a history of methamphetamine abuse from the hospital records at Cedars-Sinai, did you ask her whether or not she had abused drugs?
She filled out the questionnaire that we went over with, and she denies any drug abuse. In fact, her U-tox from the hospital is also negative, besides the medication she was given.
Besides the report she filled out, did you ask her if she used methamphetamine?
I believe I did.
And what was her answer?
No.
Was it your conclusion at the time that she was lying to you?
I don't recall.
Did the fact that Tara had a problem with methamphetamine abuse in the past factor into your treatment of her?
It's vague and ambiguous, but go ahead.
To my knowledge, she hasn't used anything since this ER visit, which was a year ago. In fact, she was negative for methamphetamines when she was there too.
So the answer is no?
No.
Okay. Now, Dr. Rahman referred Tara to you to determine whether, in fact, Tara was suffering from an autoimmune disease. Is that correct?
Yes.
Did he refer her to you for any other reason that you know of?
I don't remember his, referring letter or anything like that.
But you recall that was the primary reason for autoimmune disease?
Fibromyalgia, autoimmune disease, pain control, probably all those.
And when you saw Tara for the first time, you ordered lab results to help you make a determination whether or not she had autoimmune disease, correct?
Yes.
And after you ordered the lab results, you reviewed them to see whether or not it showed that she had autoimmune disease. Is that right?
Yes.
So by her second visit, you had reached a conclusion that she did not suffer from that disease, correct?
That disease? Go ahead.
So in the previous sentence, do you know what disease I'm talking about?
No.
Okay. Autoimmune disease. So by the time of the second visit, from reviewing the lab results, you knew that she did not suffer autoimmune disease, correct?
No, it's not correct. There is no autoimmune disease. It's multiple diagnoses that are included in the autoimmune etiology. No, I knew specifically she did not have lupus or rheumatoid arthritis, but fibromyalgia is considered by many physicians to be an autoimmune illness. So it's a very vague umbrella under which multiple diagnoses are included.
So you believe by the second visit that Tara had fibromyalgia, correct?
Yes.
And fibromyalgia is a form of autoimmune disease.
Yes.
Now, on the March 22nd visit, that was the last visit, correct?
Yes.
You recall which one I'm talking about?
Yes.
I think we went through, hang on a second. I think we went through this at length at the last deposition.
Maybe he's got different questions.
Well,
You believed that it was
hold
important.
on 1 second. There's been a representation to the court when we went to court for a protective order that the scope of this deposition will include questions about conversations that Dr. Shainsky may or may not have with the decedent's boyfriend and with the psychiatrist, Dr. Bond. Now we're going back and we're retreading through areas that were asked about at the last deposition. Been asked and answered, it's cumulative, it's improper.
The court didn't limit the deposition at all. He gave us 2 hours, and by his continued speaking objections, we're just using up the time. I'd like to proceed.
Well, actually,
I wasn't provided with
Thank
court
you.
order, and let's just use our time and,
we will, Your Honor.
So at the
I
time,
understand.
Hang on a second.
Okay.
Just to be complete in what happened at the hearing, which Mr. Brown was not at, the judge said, I can't imagine it will take more than a half hour to cover the areas that they specified they needed to cover, the two conversations.
Sir, can we
okay,
proceed?
that's fine. Just proceed.
Thank you.
That may take a half an hour, the other hour and a half we'll do something else. Anyway, that's...
And we will be here the full 2 hours, just so you know.
Pardon? I'm sorry?
We'll be here the full 2
All right,
hours.
go ahead.
So you called Dr. Bone because you wanted to make him aware that Tara was going off Cymbalta that you had prescribed. Is that correct?
Yes. She was told to go off her antidepressant medication.
And why did you believe it was important to notify him of that fact?
Asked and answered at the last deposition session.
Let's just go ahead, please.
Because usually antidepressant medication have to be, handled by a psychiatrist or at least tapered down, off, not completely stopped. And she was advised by her, I believe, plastic surgeon and or anesthesiologist, which are not the specialists in the field.
Now, do you recall if it was you or Dr. Bone who had prescribed Tara the Cymbalta?
I believe I prescribed her the Cymbalta, but she was also on another antidepressant medication that Dr. Bond prescribed.
Did you believe it was necessary for Tara to discontinue the Cymbalta for surgery due to the interaction of the anesthesia?
That would lack foundation. Go ahead.
I would like for the more unified care, so the doctors would talk to doctors before they completely stop medications.
I understand that, but do you believe it is necessary or was necessary for Tara to discontinue the Cymbalta prior to her surgery due to the interaction with the anesthesia?
Again, lacks foundation. May call for speculation outside this doctor's expertise. Go ahead. Did you have an opinion at that
But
time?
you stated your objection. You remember the question?
I remember the question. The medication should have been tapered off slowly, not stopped.
So the answer is yes.
The answer to what is yes? I'm sorry, vague.
Could you repeat the question, please?
You believed that it was necessary for Tara to be tapered off Cymbalta prior to her surgery due to the interaction with the anesthesia.
I think it's a better question to the anesthesiologist, not to me.
It may be, but I get to ask you the questions. Please answer them.
She's
If
answered
you
it.
can, just answer.
Don't guess, don't speculate.
And just please, if you can answer the question, just do it. If you can't, say so.
It's possible that there is an interaction with the anesthesia medications, yes.
So you believed it was necessary to taper her off of that?
You know, objection, argumentative. He keeps trying to put words in her mouth. That's not what she said.
I'm going to sustain your objection if you shorten them down a little bit.
Okay, argumentative.
On that question, sustain.
Thank you.
Did you tell Tara or her boyfriend that you believed it was necessary for her to taper down the Cymbalta?
I said if the medication needed to be stopped, it should be tapered off, and Dr. Bond needed to be involved, yes.
And you told her that?
I believe I did.
Are you certain?
No.
Okay. Did you call Tara's plastic surgeon?
I don't recall.
Do you believe it was important to call the plastic surgeon to discuss discontinuing the antidepressant prior to the surgery?
I think your appointment was around 4 o'clock. I don't recall if we called or did not call the
My question
plastic
is,
surgeon.
I'm sorry, did you believe it was important for you to do so?
To call Dr. Bond?
To call the plastic surgeon? To discuss with him the discontinuation of the antidepressants?
I believe it was mostly important to call patient psychiatrist, and I don't believe that it was necessary. A plastic surgeon might have been an anesthesiologist who recommended stopping the antidepressants.
So you did not believe it was important to call the plastic surgeon about that, correct?
Well, I think it lacks foundation based on our last answer, but go ahead.
No?
How did you learn that Tara had taken her own life?
David called the office the next day.
Did you speak to him yourself?
Yes.
And when do you recall receiving a phone call from him?
I don't remember the time. I believe it was either late morning or early afternoon.
Was it the day after you treated her?
Yes.
And what did he tell you?
He was very shocked. He said that he fell asleep. They had a conversation in the evening. She was making plans on her audition or washing her hair. And he fell asleep, and he found her in the morning.
Do you recall if he told you anything else during that call?
Yes.
What else?
He was very shocked. He was surprised. He didn't anticipate it. And he said that she left a note that she was not going to the money that was supposed to come to cover her plastic surgeries, extensive plastic surgery, were not going to come through. And that's what she said. And then that's what she said in the note. And we also recall the conversation, our last visit.
So he recalled the conversation during your last visit, during his telephone call with you?
Yes.
What did he say?
Because we were both surprised. I asked him if he remembered what she answered when I asked her if she has any plans on hurting herself, and she said, no, I want to leave. And he remembered that. He repeated that. And she also said, no, I want to leave. Please check my thyroid function test.
Did he say anything else to you that you haven't told us already during that phone call?
I don't recall. That's all I recall.
What do you recall telling David during that phone call?
I remember I was shocked and expressed condolences.
What else, what did you say specifically, if you can recall?
I asked him if he remembers some of her sentences, what she said when I asked her questions, and he did.
What else did you say?
That's all I recall.
How long did the conversation last?
I don't remember. Several minutes.
After the conversation, did you describe the conversation you had with anyone?
Describe?
Discuss it?
He's not asking about any conversation you might have had with your attorney. That's attorney-client privilege. So other than that, I think it's fair game.
No.
Did you call Dr. Bone when you learned the news from David?
I believe Dr. Bone called.
Did Dr. Bone call before or after you spoke to David?
I believe it was after.
So you did not try to reach out to him after you learned from David that Tara had died?
Well, that question is phrased as argumentative, did not try to reach out to him.
Yeah, she didn't call him.
I don't remember. I know I spoke to Dr. Bone.
So you don't recall if you initiated the call, correct?
I don't recall.
How long was your conversation with Dr. Bone?
I don't remember.
Do you
Few
re-
minutes.
I'm sorry, go
Few
ahead.
minutes probably.
Few minutes? Yes?
Yes.
Do you recall what time of day you spoke to him?
I think it was in the afternoon, but I don't remember.
As best you can recall, what did you say to him?
I asked him if he already learned that Tara took her own life, and I remember he said that in his whole practice, it's the second time that patient took his own life.
What else did you say to him?
I don't remember.
What else did he say to you?
That's all I remember.
Did you discuss Tara's psychiatric diagnosis with Dr. Bone?
He probably said something that I don't remember.
He probably discussed it with you?
I don't remember.
Did you tell him that you prescribed Percocet?
I don't think we spoke about it.
Did you discuss any narcotic medications when you spoke to Dr. Bone?
I don't remember.
Have you spoken with Dr. Bone since that conversation?
No.
Have you spoken to any of Tara's physicians since you've learned of her death?
I've seen Dr. Amin in the hospital, and he said that his records were requested, that's all.
Do you know, are you familiar with a medication called metoclopramide?
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 What's the other name for it?
I don't know. If not, that's okay.
I've heard, I don't know exactly
Okay.
what's the second.
Have you ever prescribed it?
Is it Reglan? Can I?
Is it, let me spell it to you. It's metoclopramide. Metoclopramide.
Okay, I think it's Reglan.
You think it's what?
Reglan? I don't.
Can you spell that, please?
Reglan.
A Reglan, okay. Do you recall prescribing that?
I don't remember.
Do you have any specific recollection of prescribing it to Tara?
I don't remember.
What is it used for?
Nausea, vomiting.
And if you would have prescribed it to Tara, would it be in your progress notes?
Not necessarily. It was a new EMR system.
So you may have prescribed medications that you did not keep in the patient's file, is that right?
It's possible.
Okay. You gave Tara a series of cervical injections to treat her fibromyalgia pain, is that right?
Yes, trigger point injections.
Trigger point injections. What was the name of the medication that you injected into her?
You know, we covered this at the last deposition. Again, asked and answered, cumulative. Go ahead, doctor.
Canalog and lidocaine.
The medication that you injected into Tara, does that have an interaction with Percocet?
No, it's a steroid and lidocaine.
Let me mark as next exhibit in order. 20. Exhibit 20 is a one-page document. At the top it says RX details. Do you recognize Exhibit 20?
On the left-hand side, it's my prescription, yes.
Yes. You recognize your prescription on the top left side of Exhibit 20?
Yes.
And that's a copy of the original prescription that you provided to Tara, contained in exhibit number 9. Do you recall that?
Yes, I believe so.
He has it there. He can show it.
Do you have a copy of it, or would you like a copy of it to compare the two?
Sure.
Okay. Handing the witness exhibit number 9, the page in the exhibit which contains a copy of the prescription. So if you put that page of exhibit number 9 next to exhibit number 20, exhibit 20 appears to be a photocopy of the original, and exhibit number 9, that page, stamp 16, appears to be the duplicate. Is that accurate?
I think so.
Well, why don't you look at your handwriting on both of those, and if that will refresh your recollection that that's the same, from the same document.
I think it's the same document.
Okay. And if you look at Exhibit 20, it's got your name and address and phone numbers, your license number and your DEA number. And that was the format of the original of the prescriptions that you provided to patients at the time you were seeing Tara, correct?
Yes.
Now, do you see any writing on Exhibit 20 that does not belong to you?
Just for the record, it's kind of a poor quality copy, Exhibit 20 is. I mean, there's like lines through it, but
Well, there's date of birth, there is
The date of birth is 6/4/79?
yes.
Okay. Anything else? How about the phone number that's handwritten in next to the phone number that was printed on that's crossed out? That's not your handwriting, is it?
I don't think so.
Okay. And do you recognize that phone number? 310-659-5759, I believe?
It's 3759, it's an office phone number.
And is that your office number?
Yes.
And in the bottom right-hand corner, do you see some more handwriting next to your signature?
Yes.
And that's not your handwriting either.
No.
Do you recall that the pharmacy contacted you later that day to verify the prescription of Percocet?
They might have called.
My question to you is, do you recall they did?
I don't exactly remember. They might have called.
Okay. When you receive phone calls from pharmacies for prescriptions, do you speak to the pharmacist, or does one of your staff, or both?
may lack foundation. Under what circumstances? Go
Could
ahead.
be both.
Okay. And you have no specific recollection for this prescription whether you or one of your staff spoke to the pharmacy, correct?
I don't remember. They sometimes call to verify the medications.
Now, in the 8 or 9 lines from the bottom right, it shows the transaction time of the prescription point of sale was 9:27 p.m. If someone had if a pharmacy had called your office at that night, at nighttime, would you have returned the call the same evening?
Well, hang on a second. You just directed her to a totally different portion of the exhibit. It may lack foundation. I don't know that you've established that she's familiar with this, so.
I don't believe I need to counsel.
Well, okay. Don't assume facts, but go ahead. I'm sorry. Can we have the question back again?
Now, the 8 or 9 lines from the bottom right, which shows the transaction time of prescription point of sale was 9:27 p.m. If the pharmacy had called your office at nighttime, would you have returned the call the same evening?
Usually.
And now, assuming that it was in the evening past business hours that you would have been in contact, does that refresh your recollection that you received a call from the pharmacy?
Well, the question assumes facts and lacks foundation.
Can you answer? Does it
I
refresh
don't
your
remember
memory?
exactly, but it says verified, so
I'm sorry?
Don't assume anything.
I don't remember exactly.
But it says verified, correct?
Yes.
Now, when a pharmacy calls to verify, what do they verify?
Well, vague, ambiguous, lacks foundation under what circumstances?
You may answer.
They verify the name of the patient, the name of the physician who gives the medication, what medication, usually.
Is that a common thing for all pharmacies to do in your experience as a doctor prescribing medications?
Oh, come on, it lacks foundation for all pharmacies. Go
I
ahead.
can't say for all pharmacists.
My
Frequently,
question to you was not for all pharmacies. My question to you is for all pharmacies that contact you.
frequently they call about pain medication, narcotics, triplicates.
So mostly for pain medications, you'll get a call to verify, correct?
Yes,
And during the verification, they also call to verify when they do, and it involves pain medication, they also verify the number of pills that you're prescribing, correct?
usually.
And you were prescribing 25 days worth of pills, correct?
Yes.
So why don't we take a break then? It's 2 o'clock, and we'll come back and see if we can wrap this up.
The time is approximately 2 p.m. We're now off the record.